Okay, today's video is a little bit different because I'm talking about shoes rather than tech, although I guess shoes can to some extent be tech. These are Barefoot shoes made by a company called Almond Oak. Here's the logo there. I think they're developed in Europe, but probably made in China or something. But let's talk about barefoot shoes briefly for 1 second here. Basically, a barefoot shoe has two characteristics as far as I'm concerned. The first one is that the shoe is completely flat from toe to heel. So there's no rise from the front to the back. Normally any shoe, even a Nike sneaker or something like that, would have a higher heel in the back to give you a little bit of elevation. A barefoot shoe primarily is a shoe that is flat from front to back and has what is called a wide toe box. So where your toes go in the shoe, that's called the toe box. Normally with Nike or something like that, imagine this is a foot, not a hand, your toes would be squished together. Okay, so the shoe's going to get narrower at the front than it is at the mid. Okay, and that's going to force your toes like this. So that's why if you look at your foot, if you're not a barefoot shoe wearer, your toes are probably over cramped. If it should, even outside of a shoe, take your shoe off and your toes are still crunched. Now, barefoot shoes allow your toes to sit at a natural position, which obviously gives you a bit of a wider stance and allows your toes to move independently, therefore increasing the strength of the toe and helping you with your balance and other things. So those are the two main characteristics of a barefoot shoe: flat from toe to heel and a wide toe box. Some people think that there's a third characteristic, and that is a thin sole, and they want to be able to, for instance, feel the ground beneath their feet even though they're wearing shoes. Though they seem to think that there's some natural benefit. They call it grounding. I think that's nonsense, and I wish more shoe companies, barefoot shoe companies, would give you a more substantial heel. I have no interest in feeling the ground beneath my feet. I just want to be able to walk as if I'm barefoot. Okay, let my feet have a natural state. I don't need to feel pebbles and such underneath. So that is one thing that these shoes are pretty good at. I wouldn't say they have a super thick heel, but it's certainly thicker than most barefoot shoes. I don't have the millimeters on hand I'm just going by experience of wearing them. Okay, so let's talk a bit about this company, Almond Oak. I believe when they developed this shoe, they were based in Europe, and the purpose of the shoe is for one-bag travel. So these scrunch down, very small for packing. You know, they're extremely flexible because there's not much to the shoe. It's just protecting your foot, right? But it doesn't have much internal structure, and that's by design. So these are slip-on shoes. These laces are mostly decorative. They do keep your foot, of course, in there, but you cannot tie these. These laces are permanently sewn, so I mean, you could cut that, I guess, if you wanted to, but they're sewn there, so it's basically an aesthetic look. Okay, they're made of merino wool, except for this part, which is some sort of rubber thing, and it acts almost like a little sock, even though it's not. If you can see inside, it tapers out, but it hugs your heel a tiny bit. It doesn't feel at all, it's very soft, so it's not intrusive. When your heel's in here, you don't feel like this is rubbing against and causing some sort of abrasion. They're extremely comfortable. Okay, and they're also extremely affordable. I believe that these were about 56 American dollars, so 70, 75 Canadian dollars. They're available in white or black. I hope that they put out a navy color. I think they'd look pretty sharp in navy. They come with a cork insole like this, so it's a little dirty. I've been wearing it. I don't wear socks either, so it's a little black. So cork insole with a little bit of foam base to it. And some people who have extremely high volume feet, meaning feet that are, I don't know what you'd say, thick at this part, will take out their insoles, and they'll have a few more millimeters of room. These are so wide that I don't think many people will do that. These are without question the widest shoe that I have worn. My normal go-to shoes are Saguaro, Mookie shoes. I used to wear Vival Barefoot, but I think that they're crap now. And they're definitely more narrow than these. And these are the widest ones, and not just at the toe box. The unique thing about this shoe is that it is wide from the back half equally wide at the back half as the front. So at first when I put them on, I thought, oh geez, these are too wide for me, which I've never said about any shoe before. And I was specifically thinking of this back part, so where my heel is and the midfoot. But after wearing them every day for, I don't know, 2 weeks, 10 days, something like that, I find them extremely comfortable. Because the laces won't do up, you're not going to do any big athletics in these. You're not going to run and jog in these. They're meant for walking around. They're meant for you traveling to a country. You want to not take up much room in your bag for shoes. These are great. You just slip them on. They're merino wool, so they're temperature regulating. I wouldn't call them cool as far as temperature goes, because this pattern here is just a pattern. It's not actually holes. I think that would weaken the shoe too much because it's wool. They're not going to be as cool as, say, a Field Grounds knit shoe, which you can actually feel breeze blow through. But I like these shoes better than the Field Grounds, and they're cheaper as well, substantially cheaper. So what else can I say about this company? Here, what I'll do is I'll give you a couple comparisons, okay? So I've taken out the cork inlay from the shoe, which gives you an idea of how big the shoe is on the inside. Obviously, your foot's going to lay on top of that. So let's compare it to some other insoles I've got. So this is a Saguaro insole. These are both 42s. This is from a model, I believe it's Smart 1. It might be Smart 2. I wear both. They're my favorite shoe, and the only difference between the Smart 1 and Smart 2 really is colors. So as you can see, this, as opposed to this has a little bit of a rise here. Now this would normally just go against the shoe. It's not ankle support. It's just makes your foot not rub against the inside of the shoe. However, theoretically, the footbed of this would actually be here, right? So don't look at this, ignore this part here if you can, when I compare it to this. Okay, so you can see that again, this is not going to be, this is not flat, this part here, right? So you take this out, and this shoe, the Almond Oak, is substantially wider than the Saguaro. Even though Saguaro is a perfectly wide shoe, and it's a great barefoot shoe, and I recommend the Saguaro Smart 1 and Smart 2. It's my favorite shoe. I wear it every single day. But this shoe is wider. Now here's a Saguaro rain boot, which is narrower, right? You can see it's even narrower, right? And then here is this is a Vivo Barefoot sandal. However, because their shoes are so narrow, I have to size up. So this is actually, I think, a 43 or a 44. So 1 or 2 sizes bigger. And it's still about the same size, right? So that's how much wider that shoe is. Let's see if this will go in here. So it's practically the same. I mean, this is a sandal, so it's So yeah, if you're and again, this is, I think, a 43 or 44. It makes a big difference to feel a wide shoe that's wide at the back. I've never worn something quite like this before, and I recommend it. The company seems pretty sincere. It's developed by one guy who was a traveler and couldn't find things that he liked, so he went off on his own, and that's exactly my kind of person. The only thing I don't like is it looks like he's moving headquarters to America, and I'm trying to avoid buying American products while the Orange Man's in the White House. So I recommend these if you're a barefoot shoe wearer and you're looking for a casual, easily packable shoe. I have no complaints about it. I suspect that these are going to get quite dirty. I haven't taken any steps to clean them. I don't know what I would do. I don't think they'd be great in the washing machine, but something to think about is just that, because they're available in black as well. If you're trying to cover up the dirt and you're walking around a lot, might be smarter to go with the black. So yeah, Almond Oak. I think it's almondoak.com. They only offer one model of shoe in the 2 different colors, so it's not like you're going to get confused if you go to the website. So yeah, I recommend them. No complaints, just please don't go to America, Almond Oak. That's it. I hope this was helpful to you. Here's another, here's a Saguaro. This is the Smart 1, Smart 2. And though it looks comparable, I promise you it is narrower in the back half. Okay, and these are both 42s. Thanks. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments.